Good call. All right, it is 9 o'clock. We will call to order our morning business meeting of the Klickitat County Board of Commissioners. Let the record show that Commissioner Zoller and Commissioner Christopher are present. Commissioner Anderson is away. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. I'm sitting here thinking they don't even have a flag to see because they can't see our corner. We need to like move the flag over there or something. Let's see the flag. I know I'm petty. All right, thank you, everyone. We'll move on to meeting minutes.
And Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from October 31st as presented.
I will step down and second the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the meeting minutes from October 31st, 2023 as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask approval of the business agenda with one add-on: appointments for Lodging Tax Advisory Board under miscellaneous. I think we have 3 applications.
What time is that? Under miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous, which would be 1:30-ish.
Okay. I'll step down and second the motion. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. Oh, there it is. That's actually at 9:15. All those in favor of approval of the business agenda with the one add-on, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. With that, now we are time for public comment. Public comment will last as long as people are wanting to comment. When we don't have anybody wanting to comment anymore, we will end public comment and we will move on with our business agenda. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. For those of you that can see the Zoom screen, there should be a clock on it for you. Please state your name and general location in the county for the record at the start of your testimony, and try to keep things pertinent to county business or things happening inside the county. With that, we always start in the room. Do we have anybody in the room that wants citizen comment? Seeing none. Online, if you're online and want citizen comment, please raise your hand or unmute yourself.
Hi, Gabrielle Gilbert.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
This is actually excerpts from an article by Brian Balfour on what happens to our government of law and not men. Nobody is so powerful in his society to be in a position to identify his own will with the law of the land. And a road paid for a tyrant is to impose his will and to override voluntarily developed laws and customs of the people of his own design. Sheriff Songer's attempt to give a press release over policy in which he would not arrest anyone who would shoot or kill a wolf, which is federally and state protected, is problematic in that it really creates this 2-tier system of who is having to be responsible to laws of the land and who is not. It is also problematic for wildlife as well. And it takes away from the opportunities that livestock owners or families with small domestic animals would take precautions on how they safeguard themselves living in an area where wildlife lives. So I think that that has to be addressed when you speak about budgets and budget shortfalls and the $1 million that you need to find. You're going to have to come up with money for a lawsuit that would inevitably happen if someone were to take out a federally and state protected wildlife. The other thing I want to speak to is on November 17th between 6 and 8 p.m. at Columbia High School in White Salmon, there is an opiate awareness and response training. There will be food and childcare, free childcare provided, which is music to my ears. And it is important if you, the Board of the Commissioners could come, also the invitation out to Aaron Quinn and Tyrone Bryan. that they would possibly be able to come. There will be discussions about opiates in the community. There'll be discussions about Narcan, its use, and how to go home with it. And there will be just basic discussions about those issues surrounding opiate addiction. And so I hope that you guys can attend that November 17th meeting and to get the word out. So thank you for your time. Have a lovely day.
You. Go back in the room if anybody has citizen comments. Seeing none, go back online. Anybody online? Sorry, I have a frog in my throat. Anybody online have a citizen comment for the Board of Commissioners today? Unmute yourself, raise your hand. Sherry.
Good morning, commissioners.
morning.
You know, last week I talked, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Last week I talked about my concerns with some, you know, the Regional Fire Authority and how they become two entities, how one entity will become two entities. One, they will be a political subdivision, and two, they'll be a legal entity of a municipal corporation. They'll also have legislative powers. They'll have executive powers, mandatory powers, discretional powers, express powers, and they will get eminent domain powers. So I am trying, oh yes, and they will tax us. They'll tax us, and they'll tax us some more. And to me, it sounds like they're just a corporation, a private business. And, you know, they can also, you know, charge us if they show up to our house after they take our property taxes. So I'm just concerned what is happening here with our government. How are you two entities? How are you a political subdivision as well as a municipal corporation with the power to tax us and then to charge us as a business if they show up to our house? Charge us for burn permits, charge us for this, charge us for that. I mean, maybe if you guys, you two right there, literally believe in our government and who are we? And what are we doing to the people, your constituents? How much are we going to tax and allow corporations the power to tax us? We need to have some conversations within our government. Klickitat County is a municipal corporation. I mean, I'm just confused how you are two legal entities, how one fire authority becomes two legal entities. That's all I want to know. How is that even legal? I don't understand this. And I hope that you guys can explain this to me, the rest of the people who pay property taxes. You know, there are people on fixed incomes. And what are we going to do to grandma on her fifth generational land when she can't afford these new property taxes from this corporation that's going to tax her more? Is the county going to sweep in with your contracted real estate agency that you've contracted with that knows how to acquisition properties? Are you just going to sweep in and take grandma's land because she can't afford it anymore? I'm really concerned for people here, and I'm concerned for what.
Can I ask you a question of what contracted real estate agency you're talking about?
Well, you know, you're the county commissioner who did the contract. You had it in the paper. You then had it in your agenda and you had the contract. So I don't need to answer that. You need to answer that. So anyway,
I'm trying to understand what you're talking about because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, then shame on you, Commissioner Christopher, for not knowing what your county signed.
Okay.
Because you guys signed it. You guys are the ones who contracted. So I would like to know how one entity becomes two legal.
Thank you. Your time is up. We will get to responses when we're done, if the commissioners so be it. Anybody else online have citizen comment for the Board of Commissioners? Raise your hand, unmute yourself, or otherwise get our attention. Anybody in the room have citizen comment for the Board of Commissioners? I see 2662.
Hello and good morning, commissioners. This is Tracy. I'm from Lyle, Washington. And I have spoken with Lori a few times in the last month about the new requirements for the wildland urban interface and the new mapping. I found it on the Thurston website, and I asked for it to be put on the Klickitat County website to make people in our county aware of it. What it is DNR has done some mapping in 2021. It was completed on all lands in Klickitat County for their fire risk, for what they feel should be rated for wildland urban interface. And in looking at the map, all of Lyle, all of the residents of Lyle are in the red, which is wildland urban interface, and the outside areas are wildland urban intermix. Now, what does that mean to the people? Well, I called up 5 different insurance companies to find out when this does go into effect, which was for Thurston County was October 29th, 2023. Talking to Lynn Ward, she said that Klickitat County is going to extend that delay the requirement for till March of 2024, but it is still coming. So I talked to 5 different insurance companies, and unfortunately only one, which was Farmers, will actually keep the property insurance for the people. The other ones will likely cancel the property owner's insurance. And I kind of am going along with Sherry on this, that our county has a lot of senior citizens in it, and a lot of seniors are on fixed income. And I worry that those seniors in downtown Lyle are now going to lose their insurance and possibly lose their homes over this, when this can or cannot, it does not need to be adopted by the county. It's something that counties can choose to go along with, and they can choose to not go along with it. And I'm begging the commissioners to really look into this, because we don't need another bureaucracy on top of what we already have. We have you guys looking out for us. We don't need DNR looking out for us to teach us how to fight our own fires on our own properties. One of the things is you won't be able to have trees within 50 feet of your home. And some of us like shade, and are tired of being told what we can and can't do on our homes. Just because Klickitat County didn't go with the Gorge Scenic Act, you didn't become part of that. We still are part of that. The homes that are in that area have to, they have to get permits from the Gorge Commission and such. So I'm asking that you please put this on the website, on the Klickitat County website, for others to see, and you really take into heart what this is and do we need it? And I believe we don't. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tracy. Does anybody else in the room or online have citizen comment for the Board of Commissioners today? Raise your hand or unmute yourself. We've, looking at the list on here, went through our normal speakers. So we'll do last call. Anybody left out there still have citizen comment for the Board of Commissioners that has not had a chance to speak before we end citizen comment? Raise your hand, unmute yourself, or otherwise get our attention. Don Bryan, go ahead. Byron, sorry. Brian. Yep.
Brian, yes, sir. I'm kind of concerned about the fact that the sheriff wants to put these cameras around the county. I don't know. Hopefully when he comes calling, you guys will decide not to participate like White Salmon has. But to me, it's an invasion of privacy. And we have, like he said, when they take the guns away, the only people that's going to have the guns is the criminals. Well, the criminals that he's talking about don't have cars. They're going to steal a car, switch to plates, have no plates, be on a bicycle in the middle of the night down the alley. And I just think that it would be good if you guys would not fund his camera operation. And I do realize that when you're in public, you have no, rights to privacy or whatever. I understand all that, but when they're able to track you, it's a little bit different than somebody on vacation taking a picture and you're in the background than him typing in your license plate or watching for a bumper sticker on your vehicle, go by the camera, wanting to know, I'm sure they can just type it in when they stop you for a infraction. Okay, he's been by camera number 7 6 times. Why is he in that part of town? He don't even live close to there. What's he doing over there? But anyway, hopefully when he comes calling, you will not support his campaign for cameras in the county. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Don. If you want to hang on, you might hear some commissioner response to that. Does anybody else out there have citizen comment for the Board of Commissioners today? Hearing none. Going once. If you do, raise your hand or unmute yourself. Going twice. Not seeing it. All right, with that, we will end citizen comment for today. Does my seatmate have any responses to any of the comments given today?
Sure. Gabby, thank you for giving us the invite and the update for the 17th. Checking my calendar, I'm already scheduled for something, but I can tell you, I did attend the one that was held here in Goldendale. And the thing I like best about it is it was a village. It was everyone. It was the hospital, law enforcement, impacted families, state officials, health officials. And that's what it's going to take to fight this, is everybody working together and everybody getting on the same page. So I'm thankful that they're holding the same meeting in White Salmon, and you're going to find that very valuable. So, and I look forward to those people all getting together even more across our county as an entire board, as a family, to take care of this for the people. Sherry, the fire district thing is interesting to me, and I'm following it. I think there's some misconception. I'm going to have to look, so I should not speak out of turn, qualified. But as they turn into a taxing entity, that would be put on the ballot, and that would be a choice of the people whether they want to increase that tax for that fire district or not. So I'll look into both of those entities and figure out how they meld, how they work, and then I'll get hold of you and we'll have a chat about it. I think it's a good thing. I like to see the fire districts become more professionalized. I was involved in a couple of the fires this summer and sat in the room with the guys working on EMS, and there's some things that need to be cleaned up so our people deserve the service, get the service that they deserve. It's a worry, and I want to see those fire departments as professionalized as possible. And Tracy McCune, yeah, we did talk about the urban interface, and I'm glad that you found the maps and where they're at now at Thurston County. I'll talk to planning and building and probably emergency services about that DNR map and see if that's something we have room for, if we can put on the web, or if that's something that's actually going to be helpful to the people. As far as taking that away, they have things, and I'm sure you've heard it before, that are called state mandates. And unfortunately, how law works, it comes from the federal government down to the states to work on it. The states make up the rules and the laws, and then they hand them down to the county. And there are things that we have mandated to us that we cannot turn back and we cannot get out of. Hopefully they don't come in the form of an unfunded mandate. They have, where we've had to change big issues, big problems, and then we've had to find the money from our taxpayers to pay for what the state is now asking us for. I'm sure this is a DNR issue, and you probably should work more closely with DNR about, is this a mandate? Does our county have to opt in? But while you're working on those things, I'll ask from this side too, and then we'll talk again. And Dawn, thank you for asking about the cameras and voicing your opinion. It's always good to hear from every side. It is a work in progress, and we have not finished listening to people who are working with our sheriff on the cameras. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Zoller. I would say with Gabby and the wolf issue, I myself am concerned. My worry is that we will have a resident that listens to Bob's statement and thinks it's okay for them to go out and shoot a wolf because they won't get in trouble. And then we have the Fed swoop in and that person's going to go to jail for 20 years. So my worry is that our words could end up with consequences for an innocent person that's not necessarily innocent anymore because they believe the rhetoric. And that is my biggest worry. That somebody's going to do something that gets them in trouble by another law enforcement agency thinking that they're safe. So I would advise everybody it's probably a bad idea to shoot a wolf for any reason, unless you have permission by the federal government, since it is a federal property. With that, and we'll go move on to your meeting on November 17th. We are all going to be at a Washington State Association of County Leaders Conference next week. So none of the commissioners, unless they leave that conference early, do I believe will be able to attend your meeting next week. Sherry, regional fire authorities. Again, this is a civics issue and a civics lesson, I guess. Government entities, all of the junior taxing districts are the same, whether it's the fire department, fire district, whether it's the cemetery district, whether it's the library district, whether it's the EMS district, whether it's the hospital district, whether it's the port district. Every single entity on your tax bill that you get at the first of the year that lists out all those things are set up as a form of government into entities, and one of those is a public corporation. That's how government works. If you don't like that form of government, then we need to rewrite, I guess, the Constitution and the state constitution and reform all of government, because that is government. And yes, all those taxing entities, all those junior taxing districts, that's why they're called junior taxing districts, have the ability to raise your taxes. They do have to go out to a levy vote, just like the EMS district does, and the hospital does, and the library does, and fire districts do, if they want to raise your taxes. Forgot water districts. Water districts are also in there. It's normal. It's operation of the government that we've lived in for 200 years. How you would go changing that, I don't know, because I don't believe most people want to change the form of democracy government that we currently have. So you'll have to research how to change that on your own. Still don't know what contracted real estate agent you're talking about that's working with the fire districts. I have no clue, so I can't answer the question. Tracy, wildland urban interface. Yes, I agree with you, and this scares the heck out of me because, well, like you said, some of us want to have a tree next to our home. That tree does increase the risk of fire to our home. If we don't firewise our property more, we're more likely to burn. And as you can tell, because the state of Washington does not restrict insurance companies, or should I say restrict lawsuits to insurance companies, all of our insurance premiums are going absolutely sky high. The state of Washington needs to create legislation and limit the amount of damage that somebody could be applying for when they file a lawsuit. And if they did that like other states did, our insurance premiums would all be able to be lower, but that until the legislature changes the way they do things, our insurance rates are going up. The wildland urban interface will probably cause some insurance companies to not insure our properties, and mine is probably one of them since I am 20 minutes from the fire hall. When my house burns, if I don't go out and start my own fire suppression equipment, my house will be burned by the time anybody gets there. So yes, I have grave concerns over this and will do what I can to protect the people and their insurance companies so that they can continue insurance. Dawn, cameras, privacy. I agree with you on most of what you say. I worry about the surveillance state that we're creating. I think most citizens of Klickitat County do not want to see us become a surveillance state. So I do have grave concerns on that. We have not been asked for any funding for that program. And I'm sure if and when we ever do, this board will have a vigorous debate on the issue at hand before we fund it, if we fund it. So that is my responses for today. Thank everybody for their comments. With that, we'll move on to consent agenda.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, Commissioner Anderson is joining us, or is he already on?
Yes.
Commissioner
Good
Anderson.
afternoon.
Responses.
Good mornings out there. I was not able to hear. I called in a little late, so I have no responses.
Okay. Moving on to consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda for 12 items, taking off item number 3 for future discussion.
I will second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with 12 items, pulling item number 3 for future discussion. Any discussion on the issue? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the consent agenda with 12 items, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion to approve the accounts payable warrants in the amount of $242,618.18 and no payroll benefits ending the date of November 6, 2023.
I will second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to pay the bills. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying the bills, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Next item up is a department update with the planning department. Lori Anderson, the associate planner.
You. All right.
Pressure's on, right? Thank you, ma'am.
So as we continue to do weekly updates, potentially you'll want me to change the format, but until then, I'll just go with what I have. Upcoming meetings, as you know, this afternoon at 1 o'clock, we'll have the Board of County Commissioners public meeting with the Planning Commission's recommendation on the industrial solar and basically the prohibition in the Goldendale, Centerville area. And then November 20th, we have a Planning Commission workshop on the critical areas ordinance, and Dan Nickel with the DCG watershed group will be present via Zoom and will help us with kind of an update on where we're at with the critical areas ordinance. And you probably got the email that yes, indeed, he will be here. Well, once again, virtually, but it'll be at no cost to the county. And moving along from the meetings, we have a list of projects that we're working on. Some are pending, some are in the midst of being processed. And what I tried to do, there's 3 pages. I tried to break them down, kind of categorize them. I can read through them, or you can read through them yourself and ask questions later on. I know I just gave this to you, so I don't expect quick answers. So we have that, and do you want me to give you a minute or?
So I think you're asking us which ones of these should you be working on and which ones of these we're going to send to a consultant? Is that what you're saying?
Somewhat, or basically just to let you know what we're working on and some of our various projects and how we may want to proceed. And again, this is a list I just gave you, so potentially we need to review it and talk at a later date. Some are obviously like the large Bluebird and Glen Hill Solar. Some of those are quite large. And then we do have some other projects that aren't so large or complicated, I guess you could say.
I mean, these probably fit into our later discussion under item number 3.
I would,
So it's good to have the list.
Okay.
I would agree. Yeah. And that's
That helps.
that's part of our quandary is what we have you do, what we don't have you do, where that line is, what that is, and that could just end up being directive from us to say yes on this, hold this and this and this kind of scenario.
Right.
And that's what you're looking for, is the guidance on, okay, what am I doing and what am I not doing?
Correct. And then kind of going along with other things I have to say is we're at some point going to need either a consultant or somebody to help with these larger projects.
Right.
So it all kind of ties together in a complicated way.
Yeah. I don't know that I have an answer for you because the board really needs to look at each one of these issues. And determine in the same thing, we've got to move forward with getting a consultant on board for those, but hopefully we have new information about that today, or somebody can give me new information on that today, so we know where we're moving. I am glad my memory wasn't wrong and that we did get the Department of Ecology grant for watershed. In professional service that ended up not being expected. That's the way I remember.
Right. And then maybe going along, you just addressed our budget concern from last week. We did get the $15,000 from Department of Ecology. So our professional services, we're not rich, but we do actually, we're in the positive a couple thousand. So that's good after we're able to get that clarification. One other thing with the DCG watershed company, as noted earlier, they'll be helping us at the Planning Commission meeting on the 20th. After that, we would need to have a new agreement with them.
Okay.
And the good thing about that, by the time that agreement would be signed and all, it would be the new year. So we do have money in the 2024 budget for some professional services, if that's the direction you want to go.
Yeah, I guess I want to. I kind of want to sit into the Planning Commission's workshop they're having with him, because I want to know where are we at in this process? Are we 20% complete? Are we 95% complete? Is it a moot issue with the Planning Commission because regardless of what's presented to them, they're not going to vote yes on it? Where are we at? So we're not spinning our wheels. So I don't know that I will have an answer without sitting in that meeting on the 20th that I try to stay out of. But I really need to know what's going on in there. For me to make educated decisions financially going forward.
And so we don't cross lines. That's great if you sit in, as long as we can get a report and share the information, and that helps me. And then I think that question too kind of has an evolution as we go forward with the planning department and how they function and who sits in as interim, or not interim, but as the consultant that helps you. I think some of these answers will come from the process we set up in the next 2 weeks.
And kind of going along with that, I believe, and of course, I'm not the procedural person here, but we would need to have some qualifications sent out to get somebody to help us. And that I believe would actually need to come from the planning department under direction of the commissioners. And since I'm not the most familiar with requests for qualifications and proposals, I did talk to Jeff Hunter briefly just to get a kind of rundown on how some of these things have worked. And I need to really thank Public Works for helping me quite a bit in the last bit of time. And not to throw you under the bus, but if you have anything you'd like to say, Jeff, that would be wonderful.
If you would like, Public Works can create the RFP. Kind of put some feelers out because we work with a lot of different consulting firms. And just said, you got planners on staff. Without an RFP, they won't send any of their planners out. They want to know what we're looking for.
Right, and looking over paperwork Rob had created for the Prothman process, I think you had qualifications in the back of that I thought would be helpful to pick from for a consultant.
And I think
I wasn't able to share that with you.
if we go through this list and know what we want the consultant to actually be working on, that would help.
That's what we need is the scope.
Right.
Yeah.
Because without the scope, they're going to have people that meet the qualifications. That's not, what they want to know is what you're hiring.
Right.
So what are they getting into?
Is it for this project, and this project, or all of this stuff?
Yeah, do you want somebody to literally come in here, sit in an office and be the planning director? Or do you want them to work with Lori, provide guidance and what projects you want them involved in? And again, like I said, we can write the RFP if you need that to happen, because we do it all the time. We have the paperwork in place, we hire a bunch of consultants. So we could do that. We could provide that process.
So I think our continued conversation is going to answer that question too.
Yeah, we should have an answer for that by this afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah, see, if we could talk outside of this room, all these things would already be fixed, but since we get to talk once a week. Makes things slow.
But we appreciate your offer and your help.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
just here to help.
And greatly appreciated by planning. So I'll just continue on just a couple other things. We have some vacation carryover, myself and Rebecca Hill, one of my coworkers, so we'll be getting that to you. Planning department has no update on Under Canvas nor on Bluebird Solar. And now we'll be able to file some short plats and boundary line adjustments. We are working with the commissioner's office to get everything on the agenda, the consent agenda to be on the agenda. So just kind of a fair warning, November 28th and December 5th, you may have a lot of short plats and boundary line adjustments and all to sign.
But moving
approved.
forward, that's good.
And then soon thereafter, on the 5th, after the end of the day and they freeze the values, you won't have those for a little while.
Okay.
So I'm available to answer any other questions, or I'll let you be. And
That's all I have. Thank you
oh,
for
thank
No,
you.
and thank you for the
Sure.
list. The list is
your
really
hard work
helpful.
and your update
Mhm.
and the list, and yes.
And the list does change,
I
you
bet.
know,
Right.
a phone call away,
Yeah.
so.
Well, and that's just it. Hopefully we can go through this list and say yes, yes, no, 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 no. And then kind of as you get some of these bigger type projects going forward, then your list is smaller. You go, what do you want to do with these two?
Correct.
Well, you do this one, pass that one off kind of scenario, and it'll be much easier once we get the answer to these ones.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
I think, technically there might need to be some offline discussions with Lori on where she feels comfortable with which and where, and
Because of the amount of the work in them, yeah, I agree.
because I'd hate to assign if she's not comfortable.
Yeah.
But I also don't necessarily want that noted on the public record. So that might need to be a side discussion that I can,
Yeah, because we need to know from her the scope of work on some
if
of
we
it.
end up breaking for lunch early or something, I will go up there and have a chat with her before our afternoon. So maybe we try to get out of here actually at 11:30
time?
and not noon. Okay.
Where are we? So, you have a
The
page.
guest left. Anybody know what they were here?
Do
Julian
you
was here.
do your pay estimate?
What about it?
Does it come under 1 o'clock?
That's probably the 10 o'clock public works one. Yeah.
Okay.
Ta-dum. We can move on to the lodging tax advisory applicants.
Okay.
Since we are running a little behind schedule here.
Did we find out if the one I sent you a question about? Representing Chamber, okay, and they don't have another representative on that board?
No, actually, the representative that's on that board is actually.
She's moving, yeah, that's what I thought, okay.
So which one is representing the chamber now? Okay,
The other two are from District 2. One is a consumer that uses the lodging tax, is familiar with what they spend it on. The other is a producer managing VRBOs. And are 3 of those positions open, or are there just 2 positions? Ah.
there's two.
Oh, okay, so we wouldn't.
What
okay.
other position is open?
The Chamber of Commerce is gone, Mindy is gone.
Well, right, Nicole was on there, so
Yes.
Tisha or
She's
Tisha or whatever.
replacing, yeah.
Will be replacing Nicole, but there's 2 other applicants. There's only 1 vacancy. What other person is leaving?
They told me in economic development, they needed 2. They needed a producer and a consumer. And so that's what I looked for in my district.
Right, and I guess I would say my worry is the same worry I've had since I've taken office. That anytime we create a board that does not have a well-rounded vested interest in all parts of the county. Because technically, if we appoint the ones that are appointed, we'll have an awful lot of representation from District 2 and very little representation from elsewhere.
And I did not look at the configuration of the board. I just assumed when they couldn't find for District 2 that they needed some help. I assumed that the board was varied, that they had two from each district.
Oh.
Okay.
No, you have the Chambers, you have Gunkel Orchard, you have Maryhill Museum. You have Lisa Evans. In a vacancy. The vacant is actually a District 3.
Are you sure that Gunkel's, yeah, Gunkel's.
I don't know which
District
one of
3.
those are there. and
Mary Hill
gone.
is District 3.
Maryhill's not.
No, it's District 2 still.
But again, it's the logic text board. You know, it's not
Yeah.
case PETA.
But do we need to
Um,
replace just one or two?
Well, that's what I don't understand.
where I'm
Obviously, if we
confused.
have that many applicants, I only see the chamber and the vacant position. I don't know that there's a
Well, we
third.
could
There may
appoint
be a
one and
third.
have the third be an alternate in waiting in the file and let them know.
Technically, you can appoint the one for the chamber, you can appoint the one to fill the vacant, and the third one just kind of sits there. Is the tax generator, you said one of them is a tax generator and one's
Yes.
tax user, right?
And the tax generator has a broader scope
Okay.
as a person.
So we can do that, and if there turns out to be another opening of a tax user, then we can do the third person.
Okay,
I'm not necessarily worried on this board that we have too much input from one district. They are yearly terms. So if I find that, then next year I will have a different opinion. I would just go in with a point of caution, since you're the kind of the director of that board,
I'll take a look at it.
to make sure they try to share the
They'll
wealth.
diversify a little.
Right, they share the wealth and they're not all trying to fund District 2 type program. So with that, is that your
Yes, that'd be my choice.
recommendation that we
Appoint Tia to the
position 2
replacement
for the
position
chamber
for the chamber.
and the vacant position in 5 for a tax generator would be Carl? Is that
Carl
your
Coolidge.
recommendation?
Uh-huh. And he's willing to serve. He's interested.
Would you need a motion on that today, or do you just need consensus and can put it on our agenda with documents next week? Okay. Yeah, if you're good with it, let's do that.
Make a motion,
No, she said doesn't
Okay.
need a motion,
just consensus.
just
Okay.
consensus. So let's do the 2 and then maybe reach out to
The third,
economic development, thank you. Lynn, and see if there really is a third or not. And if there is a third, just have the paperwork ready for the third. And we'll get that done next week.
that works.
You okay with that?
Yes.
Municipal probation services, trying to catch us up.
So I think we have on our hard drive a copy of a possibility of suggestions on how that service would work. And it was a sample from another county that's already doing it, so it's not like recreating the wheel. My computer won't boot up, so I'm gonna just talk about it. So I think we put that out for their consideration to see what they would use within that framework. They were struggling, since it hasn't been paid for quite some time, on how to build this relationship. And so this would be a sample of how they could go forward. They can pick and choose if they're providing those services, or they can add others in there, like cross out and write in red what you'd like to change, and then submit it back to us for our view to see if that's going to function. And I think that's a good way to do it. So we're not struggling weeks and weeks and months trying to come up with a new system when something's already there as a sample. So now we'll be in a little bit of holding pattern at our seat until they get done in the office in probation, saying, yeah, this looks like what we do.
Has
or we could
probation
change it.
seen this?
It's,
Huh.
it's
She's, most of it, the contract itself, no, she hasn't.
I guess I'd say my worry is there might be things in this contract that we don't currently do. And then in doing those, we're creating more workload and more burden.
That's why we're asking her
And my
to
other
strive.
concern would be that if all three municipalities don't agree to the same thing, because we don't want you to do this, or we don't want you to do this, it's gonna make it very burdensome for them because they're doing one thing for one group and another thing for another group. It needs to be the same contract for all three.
I think
So
it
they
was
just have one
only going to be
form.
offered to Courtney for her work to say what functions for you. That will help her have a framework that she plugs into. And we'll get that out to her this week. And I know she has been working on it, but I know doing your regular daily job and then adding this is a burden. So I'd like to find the easiest way to get her a framework, and then she plugs in what she'd like to have. And if it looks good to us, we can present it to the cities.
Okay. Not the discussion I thought we were gonna have, but
Okay.
okay.
Did you have a different idea?
Well, no, I'm just hearing rumblings of the disappointment of the cities on the municipal court contracts. So I just didn't, I guess this one caught me off guard that we're going to continue creating rumblings with getting them to come up with another one.
It's something that needs to be done. After research, it's languished for years and it hasn't been approached. The simplest way we can approach it, not drag this out for a year and a half of bantering back and forth between contracts and cities and attorneys. I'd like to lessen the work of our probation department and get her a framework that works for her so she can continue on, and then offer out to the cities for their approval in a simple form if we can. And then because it hasn't been done for so long, that gives us a chance in a year to monitor it. And then in a year or 2 years, reassess it and say, this hasn't worked, or maybe we need to up this. But at least get them on board, get them moving. I don't think it's possible to come with a done product right from the beginning of this. We're going to be back where we were with the court costs, doing meetings and bantering over the changes for 2 years. And that's what I hope to avoid. Keep it simple. And
So the rate in here is as consideration for probationary services, the city agrees to reimburse the county a monthly rate of $10 per open and active case. What is the active case pay rate?
well, and I think just like with the planning department, there are things that Lori's working on that she has the expertise in, that we can sit and she can advise us if that fits her scenario. I just want to send this out to them and the judges who are the, the head of probation actually, and have them say, yes, this looks like it'd function for Courtney, and Courtney herself look at it and say, this is simple, strike out what doesn't work, strike out what makes it complicated, keep it simple, send it back to us. And if we can approve it, hopefully it'll be something the cities will accept.
Well, I guess that's my problem, is most of this is just legal jargon.
Right, and I don't
Which
understand
is
their costs.
prosecutor legal jargon. You have item number 1, which is the description. Item number 2, and then item number 3, which is the payment schedule. That's the only part that probation should be looking at, or we're looking at.
And they
All
may
the
strike
of
the
that
rest,
is everything else is legal jargon for the prosecutor to look at.
and they may say, have him approve that, or they may strike it all and say it's not necessary.
Well, it isn't up to the judges to strike any of that down there. It's up to the judges to decide technically the probationary services that will be provided, which is only section 1.
And that's good. Why don't we send it over and see what they do with it?
Because section 2 is for us to decide, which is the payment schedule. And section 3 is for the lawyers to decide, which is the prosecutor.
Mhm.
So if you want to send it over and have them look at section 1.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. I'll get a hold of Courtney this afternoon.
Where we at, I guess, speaking on municipal court costs, is there any changes to that status quo or?
Amended ordinance to be approved as a qualified appeal.
Or has the city signed anything yet?
They have not, but we have to amend the ordinance first.
Okay. All right, yeah, I still have some looking into some math to run on that, because I need to do my own math. But, okay. Large SEPA projects. I think this kind of ties into your item number 3 that we pulled off the consent agenda.
Okay.
Did you said you were gonna reach out to try to ask some consulting firms interest or whatever. Did you get any interest at all, or?
And I have not yet. Everybody I have is short on staff. And Jeff has actually been helping from Public Works, and he has quite a few feelers out to.
As I said, I think we're gonna
engineering
have to
firm.
go that way.
Mm-hmm.
Which comes up to us looking at our list saying what exactly we want them to do. Because it comes down to like CAO and SMP and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Do we want them to work on that? Or do we just want to put that project on hold until we get a planning director, which could be a year from now? Those are all choices
Yeah.
this board's gonna have to make
There he
when it
is.
decides who's going there. So, okay, that kind of answers that question too for large C, but we don't know yet.
Okay. So
Bunch of no answers.
I know, but it's all moving forward to that one conversation later, which is good.
I said HR is at 10:30, so hopefully they can be done by 11:30, and that will give me time to go get the questions I need answered. Okay.
This is Commissioner Anderson, just letting you guys know I have to step off. I'll probably be off the rest of the day.
Okay.
Bye.
All right, have a great day.
Yep.
Elise, am I in the time frame to talk about the possibility of the projects that he's going to go talk to Lori about scope of work versus cost of the project? Can I make that?
Huh?
I had kind of a thought that within those projects, if you look at this project list, when you're discussing it with the planning department, if you put a threshold, a financial threshold on the scope of work she looks at when it comes in. Say you want her to do CUPs or CEPAs or things for smaller ones for the small RV parks or for wedding venues or somebody's short plat coming in. If you put a determination of the project in scope value, is it more than say 5 million?
My worry would be your publicly potentially calling into question capabilities.
Okay.
I would just say, no, we want you working on this one, but not
Oh,
this.
thank you.
And do it via directive versus.
And after I kind of came up with that, it hit me that somebody may apply for a venue that they would have to do an application for, and their vineyard structures and everything they own might be worth 20 million bucks. So that kind of shot it out the
It's
window.
more of a what the employee
The
feels comfortable
technical.
with and capable with, and if it's over their head, we need to go
Okay,
somewhere else. And that's a project by project.
it is. Okay,
Other than those small little.
and I agree. After that thought, I'm more comfortable looking at project by project with the technical
And
part of it.
that's me. So it's, I would like it. us to work it out, that she brings in a list of whatever the 3 new ones and says, I really don't mind working on this one, but I'd rather this one, and this one goes to the consultant. And gives us the guidance, you might say, to help us in our decision making. So I will actually
Okay.
have that kind of conversation. Okay, we still have 1 minute, but we will start early. Next up is Public Works Director Jeff Hunter.
Okay, we'll get started. I'm gonna skip over the consent agenda since all our stuff made it through. And the pay estimates, so that's all over. We have a bid opening scheduled today.
We do still have the past.
We do.
Oh, okay. Well,
We're saving
we'll
pay
Go back
estimates.
to the back.
We're saving all of the pay estimates until after you speak. We're doing consent agenda before.
Okay. We have one pay estimate to Day Wireless in the amount of $89,275. And this is for the SATUS Pass equipment installation. That covers the pay estimates. So now we'll get over to the crushing, which that opens today at 1 o'clock. And on the construction program, white plastic edge lines work has been suspended until the spring. We're not going to find a window for that. Curve warning and guidepost, we don't have any firm dates set. There's been some hiccup with the contractor, but we're working through that. That's on them, not on us. Small Works guardrail contract was completed yesterday. Canyon Road is done.
Okay.
There may be, we heard a couple people, you should have went further. Doesn't warrant it. There's like a 20-foot pull off and then the drop off. We don't put guardrail in places like that. Not at so much a foot to cover that area or additional $50,000 to $75,000.
So if we were to do that, that would be against our normal procedure elsewhere.
Doesn't warrant it because you have a recovery area.
Okay.
So we would not put it there. But we did do the area where, you know, there is no recovery and it is a steep drop. So I don't know if you'll hear anything. We've heard one person and we just told them we don't put guardrail there. We'd have to put it in a lot more places in the camp.
I said, as long as we're following our normal.
That's the guidelines and that's what we follow. Okay, let's see, that takes care of that. Roadway design, Bickleton Highway paving project that we opened yesterday. WashDOT has approved the bid. Therefore, we'll have it on the agenda for the 21st. That was a good price for paving. We were running about $1,750,000 to $1 million a mile. This one came in right at 500,000.
I was very happy.
So
at those bids, well, at some of those bids. One of them was like, yeah, I expected that. And the rest were like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah, so that's a good thing. Sundale, we've acquired 14 of the 15 acquisitions. We have one more to get. The reason we have one more to get is we had one kind of, I don't want to say uncooperative. He wanted quite a bit. He is, you know, may have received it in the past. We don't do that. He wanted us to pave a road and wanted a bunch of extra money, which would have put his price way up there.
So he was trying to extort the government.
So we'll just design around him and we went back to the other side and we divide right away, a little more right away from them and we'll just move the road around. So there is ways around it. Bridge bundles, we're still working on that. And crushing project, like we said, is on bid. And then we have other projects we are working on. Maintenance side, we're brushing, patching, and grading and responding to some winter activities where we get wind and rain. White salmon, brushing the Snowden area, BZ Glenwood Highway grading. We're complete with built a fence on Jennings Road, and now we got to finish one on Lakeside. These were knocked down last year during the winter. The one on Jennings Road, the resident was very cooperative. They actually bought the material.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you again.
Okay.
We're building fences on Jennings Road. I'm assuming this is because our snowplow
Knocked them over.
knocked them over. Does it really take us a year to put the fence back up?
No, but we usually fit it in when we can. And so like on Jennings Road, you know, we didn't get to it in the spring because we just didn't get.
Hopefully they didn't have livestock.
They didn't have
that
any
needed it.
livestock. No.
Okay.
And they were very cooperative. So they bought the materials. And we moved the fence back to the right of way line also. So Lakeside, it wasn't a complete reconstruct. It's just putting stuff on. We usually save it for this time of the year. If you remember, we were doing the water line project last spring, and then we jumped right into chip sealing and crack sealing. And then we worked for white salmon, and then it was summer, and you have to drill a lot of that stuff in the hard rocks.
Luck with that, yeah.
Yes, so anyway, we're moving forward. That'll be done here very shortly, within the next couple of days. Window graphics are in, and Health, if you've seen them, they look
Have not.
they look good.
Is that the only one we
That
did?
is the only one that the board elected to do, yes. Jail roof, we're getting some punch list items. There was a small leak. Contractor came back and fixed it. Exhibit building installation's over half complete. We're still working away on that. Superior Court remodel, we have a project scheduling meeting today with the judge to schedule. Wish Ram Park improvements, the picnic cover is being constructed this week. Events, baby shower went well. Goat tying is coming up on the 17th to 19th. The election rally is still planned for the 18th. Winter riding, just to kind of give you a heads up, we have sold out all the seasonal dates on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this year. We have, I think, 8 dates left, and they're in the mornings during the week.
Do you send them out by the club, or just a random person can
Random
look at
person.
if
They pay us up front for the whole season. We give them, it's kind of like you would buy sporting good, or like tickets to the Blazers.
season pass?
Yep, same thing. We sell season passes. We give the previous season pass holder the first option to buy their season pass back. So that's the first thing we sell. Then we sell season passes, and then we sell individual dates.
What do you charge for that stuff?
I don't remember off the top of my head. They're not cheap. They're pretty expensive, but people, that way they get them. They get their 2-hour slot locked up the whole season.
That's the right answer.
We're
We're not giving them away. That's all I wanted to make sure.
No.
Where we're
no.
charging
We do.
$5 for something.
No, it's actually one of the project, or one of the things we really worked very well for us. We sell keys at $5 a pop. And then at the end of the season, we change the locks and the keys just go away. And that gives us the amount to relock the facility, or key the facility. Okay, Fuel Island, we're working on the design. Snow removal contracts. We have one on the consent agenda, or it's already been approved for today. We actually contacted a contractor that did it last year. He says, I was going to do it this year, but I just didn't get around to putting a bid in. So he gave us a bid, which was $5 more than it was last year. And we didn't have any other bids. That gives us the ability to work with individual contractors then once we've gone out. And so we'll have that one on the consent agenda on the 21st. Punch list items still on the Sadis Tower site, and that's it. As far as other issues and follow-ups, solar updates, just wanted to kind of touch base. We met with Bluebird again yesterday. They actually came into the office, and we're still working through their road haul. We're getting closer. That's more on them. They can't agree. That's their problem within themselves. So, it is what it is. We also are going to provide comments to FSAC I was not really overly pleased with what they had no comments all about their traffic impact fees. They sent it to their people. They came back and said it looked fine. We don't quite agree with that.
Thank
So
you.
we'll send comments to them.
Okay.
And then there's many more steps. I'm just, again, keeping you up to speed of where we are. Unless you want something different, we can do something different too. Trout Lake Park grant, we received the grant. We were able to get it. There were 217 applicants. We came in 16th. So
For what grant is this now?
it was the grant that I believe the chair said, we want to get that. There's no match. So it's to do maintenance and
Oh,
truck
that's
in the
right.
park.
That's right.
$43,000. So we're gonna chip seal the roads and
That's
that
right.
kind of.
I'm remembering now.
So we'll be doing stuff that's we put on next or on 25, but we'll do it with their money in 24.
Oh, good.
So there's a savings long term there. Okay, I wanted to keep you up to speed. But we'll eventually sit down. What I gave you is Wish Ram Park stuff. Remember, there's a grant. RCO has a grant for Wish Ram Park that the school got. And I'll let you go through that. I'm not gonna, they met on the 25th. I'll give you the highlights. Bell Design, the school met with the community. They had about 20 members of the community there. So it's pretty well attended. And if you go to the last page of it, the rendering, I could kind of explain too. They wanted their top priorities were a fountain and a bathroom and that kind of stuff. Bell Design put the bathroom in, but they wanted other things. And I had already met with Bell Design and told them, look, there's certain things we just don't want to do because it costs us long-term money. Now, keeping in mind, this is only a planning grant, so nothing will be constructed with this when it's done. But again, the board needs to be part of this.
But this planning grant is going to be used to submit a real grant to actually build things. So this needs to be right so that that's right.
Right. Well, the board needs to have a say because what we may or may not, because you know how this is going to work. Once this is done, then they're going to come in here and go, okay, can you submit a grant for all this stuff? Now, the school can submit a grant, but technically they can't, they still have to have the board's signature because it's county property.
Right.
But to just tell you, we kind of went through this. This rendering is there's an existing basketball court. They're proposing you paint it, you take half of it and turn it into pickleball courts. Okay, really no maintenance for the county there. We're doing the pergola and this part here, they're talking about replacing the playground, but again, not a big thing. They're talking about some structures here, climbing walls for the kids, parking, a path, which if you've been to the park, the upper part, you have where the basketball courts are, you have where the swing set used to be, and then it drops down a steep hill. Well, they can grade that, level that off more and put some amenities here, like a climbing wall, that type of stuff. What I told Deb, when I met with the Bells, they said, we want something that's pretty much maintenance free. I don't have people to be sending down there repairing. I said, also, we need it to be built like out of concrete or something very hard, so it weathers well.
Well, and you have to be able to mow around it.
Right, and that was the other thing. I said, I don't want a bunch of planter islands. We're okay with grass because we mow up there anyway. So, and they avoided planter islands. We want to make sure you can mow around it. So it's kind of a circular thing. Again, I'm bringing you to, this is the 30% plan. The next phase is they're going to sit down, meet with me or meet with Public Works. But at that time, I can also schedule to meet with the board if you would like.
Well, I'm fine with just handling it.
Okay, I'll keep you abreast though, because again, we don't want to get too deep into this.
Surprise.
And I don't want any surprises for you.
I will condemn them for being so far along in their planning grant and the city of White Salmon for being so far along in their grant. I wish we were over here.
Yeah, when I saw this, I thanked Deb for helping me out. I said, I appreciate, I appreciate you're getting it done fast, but all this is going to do for me is make Dallasport go, where's ours? But they actually went out and got the grant.
Well, that's the planning grant. Dallasport
Yes.
didn't qualify for the planning grant.
Right, because they don't have it. The school went out and got this grant.
Well, and Goldendale got that one.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So if you don't get them, I
But
can't.
You got to start with the planning grant.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they did that. So I
When
give them.
there's another planning grant, we'll apply again for Dallasport.
Yes. Okay, and then the only other thing I got is my vacation coming up. My staff should be able to get, I don't know, I'll be in the Blue Mountains though. Leaving tomorrow and be back on the 20th.
What is this, second season or something?
Special tag.
Okay,
That's good.
It's my wife's tag, so
Yeah.
being the mule.
okay.
For elk?
Deer,
Oh, okay.
a trophy deer.
Oh,
That'll
wow.
be fun. We look forward to the pictures.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Hopefully there's not too much snow up there. That could be a problem.
Yeah.
It's at 6,700 feet, so.
Yeah,
You
good
can't
luck with
stay up
that.
there. You have to come back.
Yeah,
I have a couple of questions. Snow removal in White Salmon. Is this just the Pioneer Center snow removal?
yes, it is.
Has the county ever looked at a long-term option based on what we pay somebody to remove snow in White Salmon? And what the cost would potentially be to build a garage in that parking lot that we can park a Bobcat in? So we have some security for a Bobcat.
Right. We've kind of looked at that. You would still need to occasionally in a bad year, bring in a backhoe to huck the snow over once it gets deep enough, you can't do it with a Bobcat. That would be road that would have to do that because it doesn't justify, you're right, a Bobcat would be definitely more reasonable. And we have.
Well, that's kind of my thinking is the rates we're paying. I just want to make sure we're not spending too much money in 10 years for 10 years of snow removal, that we could build our own garage, park our own equipment in it to have it secure so it isn't stolen or damaged. And in 10 years from now, we actually save money by doing it ourselves.
What I'll do is I'll put together something over the last 5 years of what we spent and what a Bobcat will cost. And what it'd cost to build a shed big enough to store the Bobcat in. I mean, we're building a shed down there now, but it wouldn't be big enough. We'd have to make it a little bit bigger. So I put all those numbers together and I might be able to get it to you by the 20th.
Whenever, I mean, we need to look at it as an option. If it
Right.
doesn't pencil, it doesn't pencil. But if it does pencil, we need to consider it.
Yeah, the reason we didn't in years past, we talked about it, we just didn't have anybody down there to run the Bobcat. But right now, Dale can run the Bobcat. So we actually do have somebody down there that can run the Bobcat.
Cause I see nothing but those prices going higher and higher. And
Oh,
higher and
yeah.
higher.
Yes, there's no question. No question. I mean, right now, we do it, the prices are pretty competitive in Goldendale. We don't necessarily have to have that. I mean, if the prices get too high, we got people here, we got equipment here. So it's White Salmon, you're right. Okay.
Yep, if you can do a quickie look at that, that
We
would
will
be
do
great.
that.
And then had a side question from a constituent that asked me the question and I thought I knew the answer, but I wanted a confirmation of the answer. How much asbestos do we still have to remove from the courthouse? Keyword remove.
Right. There's some pipe lagging. There's like one contract left.
Okay, there is okay. I didn't realize there was pipe lagging left. I thought
It's
it
in
was
the
all
basement.
like floor cement and okay.
No, we do have a little bit of that too. The only place we have that now is where Mary Jo and the judge sits. The courtroom was actually abated years ago when it was remodeled. But so it's just that area.
But if
there.
it's floor cement, do you have to actually abate it? It's covered, so.
It's covered. The only time you have to abate it, the reason because once the carpet gets worn out and the tiles will start if you replace it, chances are the tiles are going to come up with the carpet.
Okay.
Now so we usually abate it when we do that.
Okay. I didn't realize we had any pipe wrap left either.
Yeah,
so.
the basement still has some. We've gotten it out of pretty much all the areas that people go into, like the storage areas, but there's still some if you walk in the basement.
Is there a plan on when we're gonna do that last contract to remove that last?
Yeah, I think it's on there for either next year, not 24. It's on there, I think, for 25.
25 or 26.
And we would do the remodel in Mary Jo's area and the judge. And that's not really I mean, basically, you're not going to change a lot of stuff down there. All you're going to do is, fresh paint, update the electrical, replace the carpet because it's worn out. And then when you do that, you'd bait the asbestos.
Okay. But the pipe wrap.
Pipe wrap would go at the same time.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Back to roads.
Huh?
Thank you for grading Sleepy Hollow. got some calls about that, but then again, knowing that area with the mud and the
Yes.
clay, they were asking about gravel. And from my experience, it's just gonna disappear if you put gravel out there. So armoring that, I think, any base rock,
This year, we're pretty much done with our budget for base rock unless we have an emergency.
okay,
And because of what's, yes, Sleepy Hollow has a little bit better classification, but we still look at it as a back road.
mhm,
We would put not finished gravel, and we did put rock on it.
Okay.
We did, because they asked last year, we put,
mhm.
oh boy, I want to say, I don't remember, quite a few loads. I could find out for sure, but I want to say around 20 or better.
That's a lot.
So, and it was bigger rock, and then I think we capped it with some reject. The reject is rock that's left over from the crushing. We don't really pay anything for it.
Mhm.
So it's just, but that's what we put. I think we had what we call jaw run, and then we capped it with reject. But we did the spots that were really bad. If you remember when they came in, they were talking about sinking in the holes. The holes are gone. We took care of.
Oh, good, okay.
So it's much better, but they're gonna continue to push until it's paved.
Yeah, that's how this works. Yes.
Or it'll get enough damage from kids and everybody else out that road that it will have holes again.
Yeah, we just keep working up the.
Right, but it's an unimproved road.
Yeah.
so
Yes, we're gonna keep,
people need to.
yeah, they're gonna keep working till this is
Okay.
how this works. But we tell them we don't like to build roads that way. That's
Okay.
it's
No.
not very good way to build a road. By just adding rock and adding rock and adding rock, because the right, like you just said, you lose half of the rock.
Yeah.
And until you actually fix the drainage, you will continue to lose the rock.
Okay.
The only way to fix the drainage is actually go in and reconstruct the road.
And that's on your plan,
No,
6-year plan.
no,
It's not on the
No,
6-year
that's
plan.
an unimproved road. There's no plans for
Okay.
any unimproved roads on the 6-year plan. That's like trying to upgrade Finn Ridge or Ahola over here. They're
Okay.
Jeep trails. It's
Hmm. I'll have to drive out there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Haven't been out there for years.
yes.
I remember what it did look like.
Yeah, like I said, the plan belongs to the board.
Yeah.
I just
like I said,
administer it.
it's a Jeep tail road that, you know what, if there's a big boulder in the middle of it and the rocks knocking mufflers off, I'll come knock the boulder out of it, but it's an unimproved road. Primitive roads are primitive roads. I don't know that we have the budget to upgrade all the primitive roads if everybody wanted them to be upgraded.
And that was really interesting. I went to training in Olympia for Planning 101.
Uh-huh.
And that was part of it, of why you want that comp plan, why you want a capital facility plan, because of the coordination between the departments. Because when we have building department or that does a building permit, or we have planning department that does a short plat, and then roads says, surprise, now we have all these people that come in and want a road. And
Well,
we don't have a
that's-
long range plan.
But it's twofold. So if you have somebody that wants to go live or buy a piece of property on Sleepy Hollow Road, you gonna tell them, no, you can't build there because the road's garbage? Or should we just notify them, hey, the road is the road. Yeah, I hope you like it because it's not getting any
Right.
better.
And that, I think that might be a little bit of a disconnect there, that there needs to be more notification that this is a remote area and you can come to this department and get this, but don't come back and ask us to build a
Oh, I
road.
think they're still gonna come back and.
Yeah,
Depending on who it is.
they can't subdivide off Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, we did that. That was done quite a while ago. Again, that was a state-driven thing, but that's protecting people from themselves.
Yeah.
Honestly, they move out there and then they realize they can't get.
No,
can't get in.
Unless, what if
Can't get in or out.
we pass the Title 12 road thing and somebody wants to subdivide and gets the board to sign off on the contract that the board's going to pay for the road?
No, the board wouldn't pay for it wouldn't be economical on Sleepy Hollow because it would be if their share would be probably $80,000-$90,000 a lot,
Mhm.
they wouldn't be very happy about that.
I'm thinking subdivided. We'll get to that when we get to that. That will be a fun discussion. Anything else for this gentleman?
Oh, that reminds me, I gotta bring your books in. I will bring them in today at 1,
Okay,
because they're done.
okay, good. Gives me reading material for the next 2 weeks. Have we set a public hearing yet, or the plan is for us to read it, discuss it on our first meeting
Yes.
back, make changes if we need to, and then
Yes,
Go.
I didn't wanna, I did until,
I agree.
until everybody's kind of on the same page. Then,
Perfect.
then we'll go from there. It's all red line, so you'll see what changes have been made to this latest edition. And that's all I have.
Good to go. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So would we like to do Public Works pay estimate?
And if you want,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for approval of pay estimate number 1 to Day Wireless for the Satis Pass site equipment installation in the amount of $95,970.89.
I will step down and second the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of pay estimate number 1 to Day Wireless for $95,970.89, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. I wish that's all it was and not 1.6 million, but. Don't know. Are you going to be taking on the economic development portion of this shindig? Or is Richard online, or is somebody with you on this?
I'm not taking on economic development.
Well, Richard called me and told me he was sick today, but I see Economic Development Director Richard Foster and you. Legislation appropriations discussion.
Right, because I was told we wanted that. Rob could fill in.
But if
I have a list if you would like.
that's fine too.
Because my understanding is you'd like a list. Again, this is just, you can decide.
Right. Our thought process was,
These are some-
if we can get the organizations in our government that could use some legislative appropriation to forward on to our lobbyists, and that we can work on when we're up in Wasack.
Again, these are just some things that are on a list.
Do you have these ranked?
What?
You have them?
I do not have them ranked because when I do something like this, well, I can tell you what my preference would be, but as far as ranked, if we can get any of them, I'll be happy, honestly. These are all taken off lists that we have. Some of these have potential to get grant funding. I probably should have checked those, and some of them don't. All the fish passage ones have a potential to actually get grant funding, but because of where they are, they don't qualify very well. So like the Olson Road Fish Passage, Lower Spring Creek, that's as a wetland restoration. That's just for the right of way. That's a very expensive project. Centerville Town Paving does not have grant funding availability. Bickleton Highway Fish Passage, you again have the opportunity. Goldendale Fuel Island, we do not have, but that again, that's something we're working on. Beef Barn Roof, yes, there is a potential for grant funding there.
But we gave it away, so we're not gonna get it.
But they may say, wait, I don't know. Again, I'm just giving you guys the heads up. Courthouse painting, there is no grant funding available for that. They consider that maintenance and they will not fund that. Courthouse fire alarm system. I would have thought that would have been a good one because it's health and safety. We've tried 3 times and that's a no-go. They just don't like that. Fuel island cover, that's something that's needed not just for public works, but for seniors and everybody that fills up there. Again, that's something that's on a list, not necessarily that, Trout Lake Park water line replacement. We have that on a list. And that's for the parks people. I mean, because they would like us to stay with services longer, but as a matter of fact, meant to tell you, we have reduced services at Trout Lake Park. We do that at the end of October. So we turn the water off.
Well, and I question this board's ability in years to come to continue operating that park at the loss that it does. Now, maybe it so chooses to do so, but
But yeah, I just put that out there, not saying.
where it finds the money to do
Yeah.
so, I don't know.
Exactly. And then if I had a preference on all of these, I would take the last one first. And that's our local access roads. There is no money for those at all. And but I don't know, as far as for you guys, it might fall on deaf ears.
It's a big number.
Well, you could reduce that, but I think what the problem is gonna be, they're gonna come back and go, well, everybody's in that situation. WashDOT, all the counties. If we give to you, then we got to give there. They may or may not, depends on your relationship with the legislators and what their relationship is and their ability to get stuff through. Because WashDOT is saying they need $2 billion to keep up on their pavement servicing. The counties need a lot more to do. They're in the same boat. I mean, for us, we're going, you know, when I first came here, we were doing 40 to 50 miles a year BST. We're down to last year, I think we did 10. You can't keep up doing that. And what happens is if you miss the BST window, you can do ours. We don't get the traffic, so we need to do them about every 10 years. If you miss that, you get into where you are at Centerville. Now you have to overlay. If it keeps going and you still keep missing it, then you're looking at reconstruction, which is what we're doing, what we've done in Bickleton.
See, I thought the Centerville one, because you gave me that one last year. I just got it too late to get it on the list.
Right.
But I thought it was a bigger number than 250.
No, it's 250.
Okay, I thought it was bigger than that.
That's the stuff through town.
Right.
Yeah.
I was
No, we could
thinking
do it
was
for
400
250
or something it's in my office, so.
Right.
Okay.
So there's the list, unless you'd like to see something else.
No, that works. We're gonna need to see economic developments for things at the airport or unless you can come up with ideas for the water treatment center. That might fit one of their special project. Cause really all this comes down to is, to me, showing them the list, they're all gonna have their own little pet projects and what they think they can squeeze through based on who's the chairman of what appropriations board.
Right.
And that person likes airports, great, then let's shoot for the airport stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that person likes sewer systems, great, let's shoot for the sewer system stuff. And they're gonna have a much better feel for what they think they might be able to get, and I just would like to see something.
I will, on the 20th, we'll do something for the wastewater treatment plant too, what we rate as the next need.
Yeah.
So we'll have something for that.
And if that's whatever, if that's the other half of the clarifier,
right,
whatever, throw it on the list. It may not be a pet project for them, but at least we're giving them the option.
I know Richard's gonna ask for the additional funding for the airport project.
Mill, yeah.
So I know that's where he's gonna go with that. That'll be his top priority.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Now I'll give it to Rob.
Put that there. All right, now we're off to Rob. He stole 3 minutes of your time, sir. Next up is HR and Administrative Services Director, Rob Van Cleve, and his multiple staff members.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, it's pretty much just me and Mackenzie and I today. So go ahead, Mackenzie.
I just want to give a quick little update. I don't have a lot that differs from our last presentation. I did go to that training in Ellensburg that we gave you the schedule for last time. It was very informative and I met a lot of really cool people. And then as far as the collection contract you guys signed recently, the first pickup and drop off of that is going to happen on Monday, and there's about 50 bags of the recycled plastics going to the recycling center in Vancouver.
Are they all plastics or baling twine too?
That's just the plastics. The baling twine is going somewhere else to a pickup actually in Biggs Junction, so.
I still have a giant bag of baling twine. Eventually you'll get it.
And then I spoke with Julian from Gorge Country Media this morning.
I was gonna say, he was here this morning. I was wondering why he was here.
Yes, so I'm starting to work on renewing that contract so we can keep doing the radio ads, and I'm hoping to promote the collection program with the next set of radio ads. And other than that, it's just the grant maintenance. The EPA has issued a contest. It's not technically a grant for rural communities, looking at environmental and solid waste improvements, and it's an essay or video submission, and they're picking 10 communities to give $25,000 to, so I plan on entering that as well.
That's interesting. We'll see what your essay skills are, huh?
Yeah, I might do a video. They said a 3-minute video or a 10-page essay, so, or I might do both just to
3-minute video.
Yeah.
It is.
I might try to just throw both out there regarding the projects I'm working on and seeing if we can get that money.
There you go.
I think Mackenzie's doing a great job. I had a chance to talk to Michelle the other day and thank her for all of her assistance with Mackenzie and helping get things up and running under Mackenzie's leadership. Mackenzie's innovative and looking for new ways to do things, and I appreciate all her efforts. Joe sent me some information and I printed it. It's sitting on the printer, so I'll see if I can remember it. He said they're working on extending the piping at the landfill. As you know, it's being enlarged up vertically, so they have to change some of the piping.
The gas piping.
Gas piping, so that's being installed. He hasn't seen a slowdown yet due to the loss of contracts, but we probably wouldn't see that until next year. But he said there's been some slow days, which typically is Burlington Northern this time of year. So like the day he sent me the report, there was only 30 cars came in that day. So fairly light day. He said they're fully staffed. They're ready for winter out there. They being Republic, still looking for mechanics, and Republic's in negotiations with their staff. So we hope that gets completed and done. But other than that, things are continuing out at Roosevelt. So that would be it for solid waste. Any questions or?
I did not have any.
Thank you.
No. Thank you.
I'd like to bring up, depending on how the discussion goes with designating Lori as Lori Anderson potentially as the interim director for the limited focus of SEPA and some other things. I'd like to have a discussion with her about her expectations for compensation. We're continuing to layer things on from what it began as, and that may be fine, but I don't want to assume that there's no expectation or interest on her part for compensation, because she also has a right to say she's not going to do it. And so with your consensus, I'd like to have that discussion with her, or maybe the board chair can bring that up in his meeting with her today, or I could join them. But I just think
I'm not going there.
I just think there needs to be fair and equitable, there needs to be some discussion about that.
Well, and I would agree with you, but it's almost like we need to know what we're putting on the plate before we can, or even she can probably have an answer to your question before she knows what's going to be on her plate. And hopefully if we go through today and we can check off some of these things that we're thinking are going to be on her plate, that will give her more of a idea of how much more workload we're putting on.
I just don't think it's fair to ignore the subject, and I have been keeping in touch with her, and the workload is getting more for her without these additional duties. And I think it's just fair to have a discussion. Sherry, you and I have had a discussion in the past early on in this, and so anything I would propose would be within those guidelines, but I just would like to have a discussion with her, just because I think that's the right thing to do. And then
At least let her know
bring
that,
something back.
right? At least let her know that we are
Aware.
looking at the idea. We are aware. We don't know until we have our answers.
Exactly.
What? Yeah.
And then
Are you okay with that consensus?
I am okay with that, but I really, in the end result, I really want to know the differences between what her daily work was before, because we were really aware of that either. And now what it's going to be.
And again, we're not talking about full interim director, which is the reason that you're limiting the scope. So it would be something less than that, but something more than nothing probably, I'm assuming, because again, she has the option of saying no, which I don't think she'd do, and she has not indicated that by any means. But let me just have a discussion with her, and then I'll bring something back to after. But a lot of it's going to depend on your discussion on the item you pulled off the consent agenda.
Right.
I just didn't want to do it without your knowledge. Okay. Code compliance, George had a meeting on the other end of the county, so I'll give you a brief report. He has currently 36 active cases, 1 case closed since the last month's update, 14 cases are nuisance, with the remainder falling under code violations. 5 new complaints have been received since the last update, and 2 complaints were referred to the sheriff's office. I sent you a more detailed report. What we're trying to do, if you're okay with it, is send you some of these detailed reports, like IT, for instance, which is usually pretty technical, and I'm not sure the public has an interest in the technical issues IT is working on, but you do, of course. So we'll submit those in writing ahead of time, and then if you have questions, we'll be glad to ask them. Otherwise, we're just taking up your time on your new schedule. So, but there's a little more detail in the report I sent this morning. So
That works.
Randy, we did send out the IT report. So if you have any questions, Randy'd be more than happy to answer them.
More than, nope, I read it. I have no questions. You have questions?
I do
No
not.
questions over there.
Interesting, I got a request from our insurance carrier who had received a request from their reinsurance carrier. As you know, any insurance company reinsures for certain costs. We've discussed this here publicly before. So they've asked for a lot of information. The reinsurance carriers have asked for a lot of information from all of the members in the pool in the areas of corrections, the jail facility, public works, road risk management controls, public health, behavioral health clinics, and ironically enough, dam, for those counties that own a dam. So
You knew that was a
Oh
good
my
one.
gosh.
so that
It's like I have forethought. It's like I can see the future.
yeah, so I think you can probably just assume these are high risk areas for the pool, not Klickitat County, but the pool. So they are gathering all this information. So I want to thank Lauren and Jeff and Tyrone and Aaron for gathering all this information on fairly short notice for the pool. So, but ironically, and then talking about the dam.
Or dams.
Dams. So as you know, the natural resources is a team effort. Commissioner Anderson, I think by that your request has kind of been the lead on some of these things as the CERC board grant, some of these other things that we're trying to keep up until we can get the position filled. You are interviewing this afternoon, and Casey will be helping you with that. Richard has been focusing on economic development at your request, but he, to his credit, has been helping in the natural resource area at Commissioner Anderson and my request. He inherited the lead entity issue, and he let me know that he submitted the annual report and it has been approved. He recently completed an introductory learning session given by Ecology for the lead entity program. For the next biennium, Ecology has allocated $90,548 to the lead entity program. The Switzler Reservoir Project, he continues to work with both Ecology and Aspect Consulting on an amendment to the current contract. I suspect that's that finance group that's made up of Benton County, Richard on behalf of us, and Ecology. Currently, looking back, trends indicate that wages have accounted for approximately $6,000 a year for each year of that Ecology grant for the Switzler project. He estimates that this amount has the ability to grow to approximately $18,000 per year for the next 18 to 24 months to be used directly on that project.
See, I was thinking that project was supposed to be wrapped up this year.
Well, that's what I was thinking too, but and Richard's given an update on the 21st, I think, and he can answer any more questions about that. But it looks like if they're doing another amendment, it's gonna go on for another couple of years. And he said their project is looking to have their final EIS in the coming months. So
Maybe that's what it was. It was just the EIS.
Well, and then backing that up, we were talking about natural resources and lead entity. So we're lead entity for natural resources through WDFW, and we always receive funding from them that's funded the natural resource position. But then it was a discussion about $90,000 and we're deemed the lead from DOE. So that's a different grant then.
okay. Yeah, I'm just reading what Richard
Okay,
gave
so
me,
this is Richard.
This is Richard, yes.
So those are my Richard questions.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, I want to thank Richard for taking these on that he had kind of inherited from the beginning. And speaking of Richard helping us, Richard notified me, and then Jake got the same message from Ecology that our third quarter report of 2023 has not been submitted for the refined basin yield assessment, Dry Creek and Butler Creek. No idea what those are. They have a new
Stream
person.
flow monitoring that the conservation district, this county gave money to the conservation district for stream flow.
So we're behind on a quarterly report. So Richard has, Commissioner Anderson, and I talked to Richard, he's willing to, he has access to Eagle and Prism and these other systems, and he's willing to look into that and see if he can get that submitted. And I know Commissioner Anderson and I appreciate Richard doing that. So again, he's focusing on what you've asked him to focus on, but there are things in natural resources that he's in a better position to be able to keep us moving forward until we get that position filled. So I personally want to thank him for that and acknowledge that work that he's doing in addition to economic development. So what? Casey and Jen, we don't have fiscal, and HR doesn't have anything to report today. So
How is HR might have something to report. How has the open enrollment going? A lot of people changing, nobody changing, not very many people changing.
A majority has only been
Right, okay.
the information that went out, the flyers and things talked about big changes, and there really isn't too many big changes this year, or any big changes actually. But
it got a few employees concerned because some of the flyers that went to that huge as far as premiums. But for the employer groups, it wasn't.
So entertain any questions for any of the above areas, but the chair asked for some time to be able to meet with planning, and we're happy to abide.
No, I do not have any questions. That was my only other question. Do you, Commissioner Joe?
I do not.
You were all free.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you for the update.
I do think there was missing candies.
Wow. We don't want to get into an interrogation in an open board meeting.
Yeah.
I just want to know where the dish went.
Yeah.
My whole dish full of caramels disappeared. Not just the caramels, but the dish too. Huh? I had, yeah, the sheriff, I bought them at the auction and forgot to pick them up. And so I shared a few, and then I had a 2/3 full dish, and it was on my desk, and the whole thing disappeared, including the dish. So
All the evidence went.
blame the janitor. See, we're gonna have to have an open investigation now. A tribunal.
Yeah, we do.
Ah.
We have cameras.
Did any of you out there on Zoom have any evidence or testimony to give about the missing caramels? let us know. Ba-dum. With that, I guess I will open my list of planning stuff here and kind of share my opinions. That obviously Bluebird and Lund Hill, I believe, should be at a consultant minimum.
I think the aggregate overlay can get fairly big.
The what?
The aggregate overlays,
Oh, yeah.
both of those, all three of those, the next three too, are fairly big environmental consequence.
Well, that's kind of what I was,
Mhm.
I mean, she has them as likely mitigated. But
I know there's already been.
I mean, in the
letters
same
of
regard,
opposition.
I guess I would say the question is for the SEPA part,
Mhm.
whether it's consultant or not, but actually handling the project. I
Yeah,
don't have that much problem with her handling the project and doing the CUP and going through the CUP process and.
just the SEPA
um,
needs to have oversight.
Right, but I think all these things are things that Moshe used to do. That are gonna be adding on to a workload.
And I think you need to ask her that, how much of the daily work they did of these permits, because I think they did do a lot, and then Mochi had the oversight to check it,
Okay.
I think. So it'd be interesting to see how much she was doing,
Oh.
or the other girls.
See, some of these are smaller.
Sorry.
Well, you just got phone situations going today.
Yeah. It's my security camera.
I say, and some of these I think are pretty much behind us, like the Latigas RV Park. It's
Yeah.
already been approved. We've signed it. We've held hearings. I mean, I'm surprised it isn't literally
think
checked
what's
off
gonna-
and done.
I think what's really gonna be key is a contractor, so that any of these she is working on, she could turn around, pick up the phone and call them. Or have them say, hey, I'm working on this one today.
Yes, for questions on the ones that
Yeah.
we give her, but it's like, same deal. Do we want her to be the lead on the CAO, the SMP?
No,
In the, you know,
yeah, I think those all need to go to the contract. Those are long range planning.
She has it on here because the conditional use permit, the conditions have been met for.
right, okay, so it isn't
So she's just.
officially
monitoring.
signed off on. It's been approved, but until
But-
it's constructed and it's re-inspected.
But she
it's-
knows what the
yeah.
checklist
Yeah.
is, and you're just
Like I
waiting.
said,
on
things
it.
like that, I
That's
think
pretty
are
simple.
pretty,
Yeah,
Need the conditional use permits in here, on these parts.
saying it's like this wind repower, I know.
yeah, that's gonna be,
Juniper Canyon is looking at repowering their wind turbines.
that's a big project.
That is because
Huge
it's a
project.
different size
Mhm.
than what was permitted through the CUP. It will have to go through another CUP and we're likely amend an EIS, and that's gonna be a bigger
Mhm.
process, so.
That one they'll need help on. That could be a lot of work. on That one.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That's almost as big as a Bluebird or a Lund Hill or a CAO or an SMB or. But then the question comes. Even on these bigger ones that we're like, okay, we wanna. Use outside or wait for a planning director to take on the Bluebird, Lund Hill, CAO, SMP. Wind power projects. Then we need to determine which ones we actually want Jeff to go to RFP for. Are we gonna go to off RFP for a consultant to do? just the energy projects, or are we gonna get them to do the SMP and CAO too?
I would get him to do the SMP and CAO too. I think it's the technical level. And then if he does RFP for those and then support for staff for other inquiries.
On the other ones,
on
and
the
then
smaller-
just on the smaller stuff, and they can just bill hourly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that she knows she has someone to call if she's handling a project and it comes in and she's not quite sure, she can call them. Fairly simple, really. I mean,
Yeah, well, as I said, it's just a matter of, I'm curious how much of this is increased workload.
do you
Yeah,
know,
whatnot, so.
on things like those, like the Latigus RV Park and the different ones, I know the girls have brought them through for us to sign things and stuff. Are those all kind of at their desk and through the process and now waiting for them to submit the rest of the caveats so they can be signed off on? And then would they normally move forward to Mochi to check and then she would sign off and it would move forward?
Yeah, we just do the final check-in just to make sure everything's, checked off.
Well, that's, I guess,
What
the,
I'm saying, a
the
lot
big
of those are on their
kicker.
desk
I was gonna
already.
say maybe, I was gonna say, that's the thing, I'd be curious of what was on Moshi's, what projects Moshi did other than the solar, the wind, and the SMP, CAO. Yeah. Right,
What each one of the girls is doing, not just Lori, because,
They did, before she left, she did give us a list.
yeah,
Right.
of what they did.
right. No, I was just curious of, I knew what they did. But I guess I'm trying to find out exactly what big ticket projects Moshi herself was working,
And I think they could tell you that.
other than CAO, SMP, solar stuff, wind stuff.
There was Swissler things coming through there. There were,
Through planning?
I don't know if they did, if he needed
I doubt it.
different documents.
Well, not with Switzer, because they didn't even in our county. That one would have been going through Benton County's planning department. Now Buck Creek up here, that one is our county, so there may have been stuff going through there, but essentially, I don't think they've applied for any kind of permits or anything yet. It's just all a scoping /
Well, and maybe,
bridge to nowhere that will never get built.
maybe when you go up to visit, she's gonna know specifically what she wasn't working on. And were there files? Are they in a file drawer somewhere in Mochi's office or on a computer for those bigger projects?
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and then hopefully I can come up with those answers and relay them back and help our, I mean, for the most part, we're all pretty much on the same page. It's just a matter of giving her the direction that she needs. Yes, do we have? I mean, that kind of comes back to agenda item number 3. Do we want to continue forward with a resolution dictating that, or do we want to follow the advice of council and just give a verbal directive?
Well, it's kind of our choice, and I'm comfortable with the resolution. I'd like to have it formal from us.
Part of me is twofold. I'd like to have it formal, so it's actually documented so that we can have accountability. But then again, the accountability is always here. If we told them not to work on something and they're doing it anyway, then, we have the ability to remove them from doing it.
And again, the resolution puts it in stone, so
right, but
they
I
know
guess
it's in
my
front of
worry is risk of litigation, and that's where I read the prosecutor's legal opinion as, I don't know how much risk there is, but I can understand there being risk of potentially calling into the qualifications into question. And are we, in doing that, are we opening up a potential for somebody to appeal that based on
Well,
documents that we created?
with a contractor in place that is covering the heavy duty work and is available for them to call as staff, there shouldn't be any question on qualifications. They'll have the qualifications. And if there's a missing item, they're available to call. So we're covered there. I think the key thing is getting a contractor with the qualifications sooner.
Oh, that's for sure. It's just a matter of whether we go forward and sign that resolution today.
And I
I'm
think
still
it's,
kinda on the fence on it.
you're thinking you might want to just do a directive rather than that.
In other words, like I was saying earlier, you come here with the bigger projects and we will tell you whether we want you working on it or not on the open record, whether we're gonna designate it to you or we're gonna designate it to the consultant. And then technically, I don't picture Lori going against the board's wishes, so I don't worry on that factor.
I just want it, before we talk about it, I want to think about it carefully. Will the director really cover us, or a policy cover us, or do we really need to have that absolutely set in stone? We set the policy and direction.
I mean,
So-
technically, we're gonna have to change the code anyway. I mean, if we're gonna have an outside consultant do the work, right now, our code does not provide for us to have anybody do CPAs other than our planning director. So unless we're going to have our planning director work on or our interim planning director work on Bluebird with the oversight of outside help, if you're gonna have the consultant actually do it, I don't know how our code covers that, because our code says planning director is the only one that can do the CPA.
Then we need to get that code ready to change.
That's kind of my point.
Yeah. But she was acting as our appointee as the lead. We have the right to appoint anybody, but the biggest issue is the qualifications. So
So
if we appoint somebody, yes,
sign off on it. So we would essentially hire a consultant to work on Bluebird. When the Bluebird's done, they give it back to our intern director to sign off, and we don't need to change the code.
that would work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we could make sure the board's directive says that the board approves that consultant's work for the interim director to sign, so that we're sure we've covered her and covered ourselves, that we know what's happening.
Technically,
Just a report,
that doesn't
an
come
update.
here. But yes, we can give directive that we want to see it before you sign it.
Mhm.
Because then we have the final say, and you can literally tell her, we don't want you to sign it.
Mhm.
And that would fix that. So I think that without changing the code. Okay. Okay. Well, we're way early. How's your coffee? Does it go good with caramels? I think we
Understood.
should not do the resolution and do it as board directive in the way we just discussed. Don't
think-
lose the resolution. File it away somewhere. It may,
If you change your mind.
well, and we may find out this way doesn't work. Again, the only thing I think, it doesn't sound like we need the resolution to be legally having her do the CPAS. The only reason we would need the resolution is if we only want her working on specific things and don't trust that if we tell her, you're only gonna work on these certain things, that she's gonna go work on something else. Well, she's not going to. I trust Lori to not do that. And again, we're all at-will employees. So I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt to not have to write up some.
Well, and I'm comfortable with the board sets policy and direction.
Yep.
And so if we state that in a statement, I'm comfortable with that we've given policy and direction to our interim planner, that this is an X.
And then we're gonna have same deal. We give direction that we want to see the projects that are coming in, the bigger stuff that ain't just you know, boundary line adjustments. And direct.
I would just be clear in your directive, the scope of the interim director, because the public and other folks may read more into that unless you're giving her full interim director, which you have not talked about, meaning full staff oversight, full budget oversight, which has different implications. So I just, in your directive of what you want her to do, when you're going to be using that title interchangeably as you direct her to do certain things. So I think it's also important at some point when you do that, get on the record as to the scope of any other duties that may or may not be associated with that title normally. Normally, an interim director has full scope,
right,
to run.
And this board has chosen not to grant that full scope.
So just continuing to differentiate so that the public's not confused and other departments, and it's clear.
Right.
And maybe Lee, we could, I called you Lee. Yeah, but we could look at the resolution and back it up and form it into our directive.
Yeah, and you can put it out as not a resolution, it's just a policy statement or
I can look at that at noon.
a guidance document. That's not a formal resolution / ordinance / anything else. It's just it's a written directive to staff. And I think that could be useful and accomplishes what I think individuals are trying to accomplish without the formality. Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
What have we missed? You know, there's got to be something we're supposed to be talking about that didn't get talked about. Did your dirty Tahoe ever get cleaned? No. Sunny out there today. All right. I don't know. I don't have anything else for the good of the order. I don't think anyway.
No, I had a meeting with the port yesterday and that was interesting. When I came into office from long ago, I remember our relationship with the port was fairly close and we'd have regular meetings with the port and interaction. I think a lot of it was because a lot was going on then. That was when even in situ hadn't came yet and the ports hadn't changed. So it was really interesting to me because economic development is a worry because of economics changing with Republic services and holes being created in the budget. So I've been wanting to encourage economic development to reach out and start working on a different idea. Let's diversify. Let's start getting some of those smaller jobs, 10 to 100 jobs and not look at just the big or the big tax potential from data centers or solar projects. So the port is kind of revitalizing too and going back that way. And I'm encouraged that they are, especially because Dalles Port has so much available property and we're already partners with the city of the Dalles and they are out of port property. So they're going to be looking to us to locate some of their potential good things coming their way over on our port district. So it's good to hear. And I had never really learned all of the different ways that the port districts benefit us. And it isn't just you know, we get, I think 12% of the lease. There's a fee that comes into the county every year for the lease that the business pays to be there. And these are big leases on 100, 500,000 or 5,000 square foot buildings. They're big leases. They're not small. So we make a lot of money from the leases at our county. We also benefit in job creation. And they actually have, the port supplies over 450 jobs in our county already. So that's a lot of jobs for our county. And their jobs, the jobs that are going to be coming are going to be different jobs. They were heavy in the tech industry, heavy in education to begin with Boeing when it came in. But now we're looking at workforce jobs, labor skill jobs, which is great because we have local people that'll drive just to the ports that could maybe be driving a forklift and start at $30 an hour and create a good family wage working for our port. They also, we get the tax incentive, we get that tax back from their sales tax. And so that adds in big time to our $09. And so we can start building that 09 pot back. As we spend it, we can build it back faster when we put in, big projects that are creating big money, pay tax dollars back in a big way. So that really increases up. And if the port could build out what they have planned for the future upcoming, as contracts age out with Republic, those projects actually can replace some of those Republic that we're losing. If Republic can't get them back or doesn't find something new, maybe we can get a bigger hit down at the port that starts replacing some of that money, which will help.
I don't know that you will ever get revenues from the port district to compete with the money. Even one contract, Skagit, 650 grand.
We will.
You will, well.
In a combination of different ones coming in and the projections on the future build outs, we will, which is really encouraging.
I don't think the math works. Because they're not going to be paying 650,000 in county sales tax revenue. They might be paying 650,000 in sales tax, of which 95% of it goes to the state. I'm talking the money received into the county.
Some of
it
them
would have to be a full build out to meet one of that.
Some of them are going to be different in the way they pay because in situ and the ones that paid out when they built and when they put their planning facilities and but these are going to be revenue generating. These have a product that they sell. So that's going to change that dynamic. They're going to continually be building product and sending it out and selling it. Every time they sell it, there's a sales tax hit.
I agree. I'm just saying 95% of that sales tax goes to the state.
Right.
We get this little piece, and that little piece is not going to add up to what we get off.
It adds up to a lot more than you think. I have some printouts that I can share with you and what the future could be.
If you look at what we receive currently in the entire county's sales tax, it does not even come close to competing with.
But when you're talking about multi-million-dollar companies that are going to be shipping product out by rail, shipping product, it isn't going to be just a small amount of product that's sold within our county. It will be shipped and transported, United States wide potentially. So that's a lot of volume.
I don't disagree. I'm disagreeing that one company is going to provide more sales tax revenue than the entire rest of the county
Not just
combined.
one. I'm talking in the future, the plans for future coming in and the possibilities of combining maybe 2 or 3 companies will make up for one of those contracts.
That I can agree with.
Yes.
If
made that more clear.
If their final total build out, it might make up for one of the lost contracts.
And there are other entities coming alongside of them that are going to build out. It isn't just what we have on the books.
But I would
now.
also question if the motive of the port district is to actually provide economic development in our county and not just build their kingdom, then why are there concrete Jersey barriers in the middle of the road stopping somebody else from providing economic development?
And I think it languished for a while and it's picking up and changing. I think there's a change at the helm, and I think we're moving forward, just like in our county, things changed and things change with staff changes, people change. And that was the design of the port. They are our economic development partner. And that's why when I came in, I was like, hey, where's the port? I haven't seen them for a while, because I was used to working with them and used to seeing them, used to hearing updates, and used to seeing very good things coming for our county that changed the face of Bingen and white salmon. It was actually the beginning of the changes for those communities to pull out of what they were before, 20, 30 years ago, what they look like. They don't look the same at all. And a lot of that came from the efforts of the port.
I don't disagree with that at all.
So I'm excited for it.
What is our total sales tax revenue countywide? Do you know off the top of your head?
Just come on, Jen.
2 million?
Yeah.
2 million, 3.5, I think this year, 3.5.
I think we budgeted total countywide, we budgeted 4.
Mhm.
Maybe a little bit more than 4 due to all the
Right.
extra stuff.
Well, I think we worked through the problem of saying that the port was gonna provide as much revenue as the landfill does.
No, off
It-
of one
we
of those
might
that we
make it-
lose.
Right, we might
we
make up for
lose,
a
we can
contract we
replace some
lose.
of it.
Good, got it. I agree with that.
Yeah, with a build out at the port or several build outs at the port, we can start replacing some things.
But same idea, I would imagine, what do we get out of sales tax out of something like in situ? That are making $1 million drones. I think that would give you a good. Right, that's the hard part.
So,
Yeah.
but what I can tell you is out of sales. Educational. 6.5% of our total sales.
Mhm.
Lori wasn't here.
But we only get one more of those, right? If we want to raise it up. Is there a max? Wow. And when we did it the first time for 0.5%, what do we figure the revenue difference ended up being? $1.5 million? Close to 2, maybe even, in my mind. 2. So jumping at half, yeah, it doubled it, so.
Right.
And that 0.5% was 2, so when we moved it up another 0.5%, now we had 4. If we move it up another 0.5%, then you have 6.
And so anything that you build out at the port that has a high sales tax because of their sales, if we increase, we're going to increase because of that too.
Yeah, but
Everything's a good thing. It's all building forward.
yes and no. I would say there's negatives to not having the lowest sales tax in the state.
No. I'm saying
Um,
if we raise it, that helps us all the more if we have more industry coming in.
And
Hmm.
that's gambling a little bit, but everybody in the state is faced with exactly what we're faced with, and they will be.
Since they only get the 1%, they're gonna have to do the same. And well, they're either gonna have to go out to a levy, which could be interesting,
Mhm.
or just do it via 0.5% bumps.
Just thankful for the port moving forward. It's good to see good things happening, more positive things, and the airport. It's good to see growth there and see things happening. Something's got to move somewhere.
It's good for Dallasport. Now, if we can get it to move elsewhere in the county, that'd be great too.
What do we get up here? We got your what do they call that one? Where the multi-businesses can go in.
The incubator building?
It was a start.
That's a start.
Mhm. And I think the airport up here did some changes this year too. Did they get some buildings or what did they get out there?
The city of Goldendale,
Mhm.
I won't say it's the county doing it. I will say the city of Goldendale is upgrading their airport, and the city of Goldendale and the chamber did an incubator building.
Yeah.
The county did not contribute,
Mhm.
or Quesapita also did not contribute. Why the project?
But it's a start and now we can see it's moving and we can start contributing.
Would be nice if Quesapita started contributing. With that, yes, no, I would agree that I watched the Quesapita meeting that I could not attend, that the Port District was talking about their plans.
I haven't seen that yet. I
Down
was gonna
there.
watch it. Yeah.
And it was very informative and very enlightening. I was also very encouraged that they only asked for 250,000 from Quesapita this time and not whatever the last one was, 900,000. I don't know that I would have been in favor of a 900,000, or I think I am in favor of a 250. My worry with them is in their mind, are they looking at that Quesapita fund balance as future that's for them? So in other words, every single building coming forward is another 250, 500,000 asked, to the point where we just dumped $2 million of the Quesapita fund into the complex that they're trying to build.
And I didn't see that. And when
Well,
you when you
I don't
look
know
at
that they would tell you if that was
well,
their
no, I
plan
saw
either.
some financial paperwork and some estimates and some things. And in the past projects and even this project, they're very, very heavy in loans that they take on that they've been very responsible for to pay back. They take a lot of their own funds from their leasehold. I asked where the monies came from,
Right,
their
but see,
leasehold, and
that's
paid in themselves. These were this much of a fund that they needed to fill that gap so they could keep all these other together and make their
I
project
would like
whole.
to see entities that use these funds have a repayment plan. So once you do start making money, give it back to Quesapita so we can use it somewhere else. This county funded some of the PUD's project with the pump storage, the initial whole thing. But then when Rye Development came in and bought the rights from the PUD and paid the PUD did not refund the county for the money we put in.
And I see what you're saying about those kind of projects. In thinking about the project at the port, it's going to generate revenue that goes back into KCPTA. Those would through the sales tax generation. So that's interesting. Because that's what that money is designed to do, is economic development. So if you're generating a project that's going to generate sales tax and a portion of it drops back off into 09, then
Right, but I guess the way I'm looking
that's
at it
great.
is
But
if Quesapita contributes 25% to your building,
Mhm,
when you start making profit off your building,
mhm.
I mean, it's paid off 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, whatever, and you actually start generating a profit, you should have to put 25% of your profit back into Quesapita until you've repaid off the money that got put into it.
And I don't know if anybody does that. Do they, Jen? Have you ever heard of such a thing? That the $09 charge back, it always comes back through the sales tax portion. But what other counties are doing? Yeah.
I think it just,
No, and I
to
agree.
me, it would be nice because then you can use the money twice. You can put somebody on their feet, you're giving them a help up,
Yep.
handout. It's not a handout.
And I'm the
It's
same
a
way with the
handout.
tax lodging dollars.
And that, right, it's
Yeah.
the same theory
Same
of
theory.
we're gonna help you become
But
self-sufficient.
don't come back every year. for
But don't
free.
come back every year for another handout.
Mhm.
And
Let somebody else get a new start.
That's where I'm coming from with the same
That's
people
interesting.
receiving the same dollars.
Mm.
And if you want to receive the same money over and over again, we need to do it in a way that when you start receiving revenues,
And
you
I
put
don't
it
even
back
know if
in
we
so somebody
could
else could do
legally do that, make them pay
it.
it back. I
Can't
don't know.
imagine you couldn't, other than there would be a lot of entities that aren't used to not getting their handout,
Mhm.
um,
Hmm.
angry. Um,
Mhm.
Well, it would be a loan, but it would be a zero interest loan. You could do it as a zero interest loan that you don't have to repay until you start making revenue.
One of the positives from, say, a building coming in or storage coming in or something somewhere in our county from the $09, and we've helped. Other ways that it does pay back other than the sales tax is that if they employ 10 people, 20 people, they're moving here. We're looking at workforce housing, we're looking at tax coming back from that housing, we're looking at construction, we're looking at that person that gets a job there probably has a significant other that fills a gap at our county or the hospital or somewhere. They're buying products within our county, groceries, gas.
Yes, if the dollars invested in the project meet the return on investment of the number of employees or jobs created. If you look at the last one down there, and I would argue the KCP fund put in 900 grand for that rural voice thing. Last thing I heard is it had 2 employees. That's $450,000 per employee. If you're saying that's a good bang for your investment, I would argue that it probably isn't.
Right.
But
Well, and that, you know, we're gonna have to have more conversations about that and set policy for KCPTA. Because
we don't
those are
set
good. Those
policy
are,
for KCP. But we do have the final vote on whether we agree or not agree with their recommendation.
Mhm.
We can try to steer them with ideas to have that board vote to change its policies.
Okay.
But in the end, it's up to them to make a recommendation to us and we either get accepted or denied. But to me, it's kind of like you're thinking with the lodging tax board. Instead of giving the same group a handout every single year, let's fund your project, get you on your feet. You need to create the revenues to make yourself self-sufficient. And it's kind of, that's kind of where I'm coming from. Same idea with the port or anybody else. Sure, we'll help you build a project or two, but that should be able to give you the revenue to do the third one on your own. Don't keep coming back for a handout.
Yeah. And it isn't, you know, that we're being restrictive or bad or having this attitude. It's just the landscape of our funds have changed.
There's, well,
And we
I look
have to
at it-
rethink
right,
this.
There's only so much
Mhm.
in that fund that if we can set it up in a way that whatever, it's a zero interest loan or whatever, we can use that same money twice, 3 times, 4 times and get far more bang for our buck than just handing it out one time. But those entities that are used to getting it without having to repay it are not going to be happy about it. If they're really interested in an economic development for the whole county, they're going to be interested in using that money 3-4 times. If they're interested in building their own entity, then they're not going to be too interested.
Well, I kind of find that with ourselves and our budget, having to cut now and look at revenues that are gone from years and years of when it was the high time and we could just hand it out. Not only do we have to change with how we manage and look at money, everybody that's been used to getting money has to change too.
Yes,
They're
but
very used to
we-
just saying, oh, well, you can just, you
But
have landfill
that's
dollars.
right. And that's the political pressure that we are going to get
Mhm.
as those entities that are used to having their handout and getting their dollars don't get them. They're going to start creating political pressure to continue to have the commissioners be bobbleheads saying, sure, here's some money. And we'll see where that goes. the board will either choose to stop endless subsidies, year over year, endless subsidies. Or it will raise taxes.
Yeah, and I don't think we'll be doing that anymore.
We'll
It's
see.
not gonna happen.
We'll see.
We don't have it to hand out, so it can't happen. Yes, I agree. Long range planning.
One of.
Yeah.
I know it shuts itself off. You can always sit over there.
I don't need to be front and center. But yeah, long range financial planning and strategic planning really only helps the board and the county to avoid those political pressures to, a unified direction where the county is
That's the
going.
kicker right there. It's gotta be a unified direction and it's gotta be
And it's gotta be thinking.
the same answer
like
on
10 years
every
down the
ask.
road.
It does.
No wishy-washy, no yes for you and no for you, and it's gotta be.
Well, and the mindset has to change. It's no longer me right now, me next year. It's, okay, maybe
We need to stay
maybe
the course.
the next boards, but
Mhm.
and the future and our children and our children. And that's
That's what that long
vision.
range
It's a much
planning does.
longer horizon view rather than the short, like.
And it
right
was
now.
so interesting to me at Planning 101, how the other counties, yes, they're GMA counties, but there's portions within that GMA we can pull out. We've pulled out the CAO and things we had to do, but
Yeah.
there's valuable documents in there that we're starting to work towards and do. And I couldn't believe how coordinated all the counties were. They didn't have budget talks just with finance and the commissioners. They had it with planning. They had it with the road department. Everybody's involved in the, because everybody's going to spend money. So everybody's involved in how that budget works, and that long range plan fits everybody. And we stay within those boundaries.
It would be great to
It was
get to
awesome.
there,
Mhm.
for sure.
It was pretty cool to watch.
From where we are, that's a long road to hoe.
No, it's not.
Could it be there? Absolutely.
Mhm.
And I think at this point, I think that document is the only way we get there. Because it's also gonna hold this board or whoever's sitting in this seat accountable to acting under that policy or guidance document, and should help stop them from being the bobblehead yes vote on giving money away.
And not just the board, but it also gives the.
Yeah. Yeah.
A guide. They might want to look at versus, instead of just whatever might come their way,
Even the change at the
And
helm with the
it's-
director.
It's gonna be tough for people to hear. Just like, I mean, this board just had a unifying decision with Republic.
Mhm.
That set the stage going forward.
Yeah, we had to.
But that's the same set the stage going forwards we're gonna have to do with all of those people. Because Hicks County just doesn't have the money.
But we can do good. Mhm.
We can. I hope we do.
Can make it happen. We will get there. So, lunch? I'm
Yep.
hungry. So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adjourn for lunch, or that we recess for lunch, returning at 1 p.m.
Okay, step down and second the motion to recess for lunch. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor recess for lunch, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. We'll be